Are we on Facebook?
David, what's it? That's what's David.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought it was like messed up or something. All right, so that's fine. Oh, okay. Oh, this looks like a TV station.
Yeah, glad you were right. You'll be worrying.
Yeah, just pay
Just before we officially begin the meeting this morning to hear the two nominees for the zoning board, Mr. Shane Villanueva and Ms. Cecilia Kaitanu. I just want to welcome everybody this morning. I know that everybody is making sure that we're all safe from the COVID and practicing social distancing, having our masks on. I think it's a good thing that we all remain safe so that we are all well to conduct our business for the Commonwealth. And so I'm happy to see everybody this morning, and it's currently 10:35 in the morning. I am calling this meeting officially into order. Today is Tuesday, November 9, 2021, and today we are hearing the appointments of Mr. Shane V. Villanueva. He was appointed by the governor on October 18, I believe, and also Ms. Cecilia Taitanu on October 19 as well. I now call this meeting into order. Now, before we adopt the agenda for this morning's meeting, pursuant to the SNIO Delegation Rule 4, Section 2A, we only need about 3 members to establish a quorum. This morning, we have sufficient enough members, including myself, to conduct this business this morning. I would like to introduce first our members. My name is Senator Edith De Leon Guerrero. I chair the SNIO JGO committee. To my right is Representative Joseph Lee Kahn, who's a member of this committee as well. To his right is Representative BJ Atto, and to his right is Representative Corina Magofnia. To my left is Representative Denita Yangtimay, and to her left is Representative JP Sablan. Excused this morning is Representative Tina Sablan, who is the vice chair of the committee, and also Representative Vicente Camacho is also excused this morning. Moving on to the agenda on item number 3, may I hear a motion for the adoption of the agenda? It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda for this morning. All those in favor say aye. Nays, motion carried. We are currently on item number 4 of the agenda this morning for public comments. If anybody out there is willing to come up and take a seat to express your support or non-support of the appointees this morning, you are welcome to do so, and you would have 5 minutes to state your comments for any of the nominees or both. And if you have any written comments, to please hand it over to the Sergeant at Arms so that we could make it an official document of this particular committee. Thank you very much. Anybody?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Hapere Tiro and good morning, everyone. Congressman Magofnia, Congressman Atto, Congressman Guerrero, Congressman Yangtimay, Congressman Splunt, the honorable members of this committee, the people present in the gallery and watching live on YouTube. For the record, my name is Kevin Bautista, Press Secretary for the Office of the Governor. I'm here to formally introduce the Governor and Lieutenant Governor's nominees for the Commonwealth Zoning Board, Mr. Shane Villanueva and Mrs. Cecilia Taitanu. Mr. Villanueva is a highly skilled, accomplished, and dedicated sales manager with more than 20 years of entrepreneurial experience. His resume is 15 pages long, so you know it's legitimate. I don't want to get into details, as you do have his documentation. But within his numerous accomplishments and career milestones, I must say he's part of the top 40 business people under 40 in the Marianas, a 2019 Saipan Young Business Professional Year, and the current Vice President of the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. His energy, diligent work ethic, commitment to collaboration, and builder mindset make him a viable candidate to serve on the Commonwealth Zoning Board of Directors. Mrs. Taitano is a highly respected female leader who believes in women advancement, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. She has a diverse array of professional experience ranging from law enforcement or DPS, public communication, and team management. Her experience as a former Secretary of Community and Cultural Affairs and Executive Director of the Arts Council gives her a unique perspective on the balance of cultural preservation and economic development. As you all know, the management of our economy is undoubtedly the most important priority of our Commonwealth and requires a comprehensive community approach from the lowest common denominator in our villages to our private sector partners and the collaboration with our government leaders here in this room. Given their extensive experience, temperament, and good judgment, Mr. Villanueva and Mrs. Taitano will work diligently to uphold the mission of the Commonwealth Zoning Board so that we can help diversify our economy, address blighted properties, fix residential areas, and create more opportunities for our people in all 3 senatorial districts, particularly within the Saipan and Northern Islands area. Having worked with both of them personally in my professional capacity, I firmly believe they will be valuable assets on this important board within the CNMI government. Additionally, I know they will be strong partners with this August body to tackle the various issues facing our community. Governor Torres places his full faith and confidence in Mr. Villanueva and Ms. Taitano as members of the Commonwealth Zoning Board. I know they stand ready to answer your questions and present their plans for the future. Thank you, Suzus Molasses and Gilliso, for the opportunity to introduce them to this August body. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
Thank you, Mr. Bautista, and if you could just email us a copy of your statement this morning, thank you very much.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
The floor is open for the next public comment. Please state your name, and you have 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair and members of this committee. My name is Geraldine Dela Cruz, and I'm here in my capacity as the Zoning Administrator for the Commonwealth Zoning Board. First off, I'd like to thank Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios in their action of appointing members to the Commonwealth Zoning Board. Additionally, I'd like to thank this body, SNIOD, for swiftly entertaining these nominations. As I've expressed previously in these public hearings, the Zoning Board is responsible to administer a land use and zoning system that protects the interests of landowners and the general public as a whole. This is done through policies that promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of our community. The Saipan Zoning Office continues to see a rise in business operations throughout the island. Many of these businesses can only operate upon approval by the Zoning Board. The Zoning Board process allows the opportunity for community members to express their support or concern regarding the proposed projects. This is important as the decisions made by the Zoning Board may or may not affect the character of the neighborhood. I am confident that Mr. Shane Villanueva and Ms. Cecilia Taitano will carry out the responsibilities entrusted to them as members of the Commonwealth Zoning Board. I know that they want a better CNMI for all of us. With that, on behalf of the Commonwealth Zoning Board and our office staff, we ask this humble body to confirm the nominations of Mr. Shane Villanueva and Ms. Cecilia Taitano to be members of the Commonwealth Zoning Board. They will play a crucial role on how the CNMI recovers economically. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dela Cruz, and also can you please email us a copy of your statement? Thank you. Anybody else that would like to come up and make a statement for the nominees this morning, you are welcome to do so. Thank you. Please state your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Chairwoman, and also members of the committee. Okay, there you go. Sorry. My name is Gary Sword, and from KKMP Radio. I come to support the 2 nominations today for Ms. Taitano and also for Shane Villanueva. I run a business radio station. We were in the village of San Jose, right in front of the church. And I appreciate Chairwoman, now in the last session when I was here, you showed up pictures of CK and the stuff that's going on over there. I've been reporting these Asian businesses that just seem to disregard our zoning laws and just build where they want, how they want, and when it's all said and done, they just pull up their stakes and leave all the junk right there and leave. The zoning board really needs help. It needs committed people to be on the board. Takes a lot of time. It's not a paid position. I mean, you can't feed your family on what they give you to be on the board, but it's a commitment. It's a commitment to our people. It's a commitment to our islands, and it's a commitment to the entire CNMI to keep us the premier destination for tourism. And we do need a strong zoning board to stand up to folks that try to throw their weight around. Also, being in the zoning board, I was the chairman for 8 years in American Samoa for the zoning board. I know the value of the work of the zoning board. These people will be, as members, you'll be pressured, you'll be bribed, tried to be bribed, you'll be called out by your family members and all. It's a thankless job, really. But it's a job that needs to be done. And I believe that these two individuals are held in high esteem and can handle the job without a problem. I ask that you please consider them in your positive vote for them to be members of CNMI or Saipan zoning board. And in Samoan we say kuokuio kafkafa. There's something to put beside you. They really need funding. They need help. So when you do have a little pot of money that there, maybe hire another enforcement officer or another person. They are swamped and they cannot handle. It's hard to handle all the work with all of the new developments that are going on in the CNMI. So I ask that you members of the committee to also consider that. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee.
Thank you, Gary, for your statement this morning. Anybody else? Please state your name. And if you have any written comments, please email it to the committee. Thank you.
Hello. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of this august body. My name is Alex Saban. I am a Vice President of Tan Holdings Corporation. I'm also here on behalf of Jerry Tan, who apologizes that he had another commitment, but myself and he obviously sit within the Tan Holdings Corporation, but also on the Governor's Council of Economic Advisors. I'm here to support Shane Villanueva and Cecilia Taitino's nomination. I thank Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios for nominating these two individuals. Like a previous nominee and now member of the zoning board, Edna Nisola, these two individuals, as has been notated earlier, I think will provide an embodiment to the organization, but in the perspective as individuals that are a part of the arts. And I think that's important because we want to have individuals that see the opportunity of dealing with the blightedness that is within the Commonwealth, that put perspective on the idea that we need to have development that embodies our focus on the intent to put in culture within development. It's something that we are recommending at the GCEA, that part of the 2% development tax that is put forward in development be a product of being allowed and not forced, but encouraged by developers to incorporate that in development, whether it be in the arts, in the fiscal structure, but that we have some form or fashion of the Chamorro and Carolinian culture within our development. And I think it improves just the aesthetics within the CNMI, on Saipan in particular, because the zoning board oversees Saipan specifically. But again, I want to focus in on the two individuals. I think actually the three individuals, with Edna included, their perspective, I think, will provide an opportunity to truly align the vision of which was put forward in the idea behind zoning. I remember way back when Cindy Camacho Bauer, who had volumes of the regulations put forward, and it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming to a community that didn't understand the perspective of having all these regulations put onto communities, and why can't I build 2 and 3 homes on the only land that the family owns, as an example. And I know that there have been many iterations through the years about why we need to change the zoning law, but I really hold dear to the idea that we need structure within our islands. We need structure within the ability to develop properly, and we need it because we need to keep the health and safety of our community at bay and large, as an idea that embodies this zoning law. And I think these two individuals that are here, Shane and Cecilia, will take this task on. And so I strongly support their nomination and would hope that this august body supports theirs as well. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, and please do email us a copy of your statement. Thank you very much. Anybody else? The floor is still open for public comment for the nominees. Shane Villanueva and Cecilia R. Taitano. Please come up to the microphone and state your name. You have 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Good morning, honorable representatives, Madam Chair. My name is Grace Sablon Bayanay. I'm an independent consultant contractor, and I work with the community in terms of advocating for women's empowerment, along with preservation of cultural values and traditions here on Saipan and in the Northern Mariana Islands. I'm here in support of Mr. Shane Villanueva and Ms. Cecilia Taitano for the nominations that has been presented before all of you from the governor's office. And I'd like to thank Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios for their submission of nominees. I'd like to say that I worked with Ms. Cecilia Taitano. Not only have I worked with her as a colleague at the Department of Public Safety, but I worked with her, collaborated with her when she had worked with the Women's Affairs, as well as a colleague of mine and classmate from our high school years. She's known to be an advocate and preservation of our culture along with our language and implementing cultural norms and values into any form of organization or laws. And as I work with her at the Department of Public Safety, she's very sensitive to that. And she's also advocated for individuals that have come across businesses that are within the residential area. And so I know that she will be that voice and will be one that will be able to look at the biases and norms and be able to speak with family members and indigenous folks and bring that diversity. And I know that we do have an economy that is diversified. However, most of the time the barriers would be our own family, our own traditional norms, and what we believe. And so I know she's one that would not be bribed, that would not be working under the table, but she's one that would bring things to the forefront and lay it out on the table. So I'm in full support of her, Mr. Villanueva, as an entrepreneur. I've heard and seen his work, and I believe that he will bring that addition to the zoning. So I'd like to ask that their nominations be accepted, and I'm in full support of them, and I thank you all.
Thank you so much, Grace, for your testimony this morning for the nominees. We are here open for public comment. Thank you. Please state your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair and honorable members, and good morning. For the record, I am Mariano Taitano, former zoning board member. I'm here to give my support to Shane and my cousin Cecilia to serve as zoning board members. I'm sure with their qualifications and experience, they'll serve exceptionally well as zoning board members. And very briefly, Madam Chair, I served for 4 years as a zoning board member, and during my tenure, I never experienced a full board members of 7 composition as required by law. And hopefully, the governor and the lieutenant governor may serve or appoint somebody else so that zoning board will have a full composition of 7 board members. And with that, once again, I kindly ask for your full support when you bring their nominations, the confirmation before the entire SNAL body. I would like to see that you give your full support of these 2 nominees. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you and good morning, Maura. Thank you very much. We are still open for public comment. Anybody else, please step up to the microphone, state your name, and you have 5 minutes, and you have a written comment. Please provide a copy to the Sergeant at Arms. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everybody. For the record, my name is Lee Tenora, the Executive Director for the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. A written letter has been submitted to this body previously beforehand. I'd like to just sit and for the appointment of Mr. Shane Villanueva, just provide a little testimonial as provided in writing. Just quick summary that, aside from everything that has been noted for all these individuals in a professional capacity and volunteerism, it shows in their resume. Aside from that, there's value and traits that are appreciated and that are necessary as a board member for the zoning board in order to carry through and to actually value those outcomes. And I feel that Mr. Villanueva is able to do that with the types of traits that he's notably known for. His thirst for knowledge and to learn and understand a little bit more perspective, puts things in perspective. But if selected, I believe Shane will participate in conversation and be a part of solutions on current issues in the CNMI with an open mind and willingness to expand his own perspective. His enthusiastic commitment to serving the people of the community is indicative of former and current leaders, and without a doubt would be an ideal candidate for this board position. So with that, like I said, this has been submitted in writing, and I will full support of this nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Anybody else? We are still open for public comment period. Okay, there's nobody else that would like to make a comment for the 2 nominees this morning, so we are officially closing this section of the agenda. And we are on item number 5 right now on the agenda this morning, so I would like to call out the nominees, Mr. Shane Villanueva and also Ms. Cecilia R. Taitano, to the chairs. And before we hear your statements this morning from either one of you, it is normally the procedure of this committee that we put the nominees under oath. And is there any objection from the members to administer the oath this morning? Thank you very much. Our clerk here this morning is Ms. Claire Sablon. She will administer the oath.
Together, yes. You can just polish yourself on that section.
Mr. Shane Blanco Villanueva and Ms. Cecilia Remedio Taitano, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You may take your seat. So now we are going to open the floor to either one of you who wants to make a statement before the committee this morning, before we begin the questions or discussions with you. So either one, you can start off on your statement to the committee. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Hello. There you go. Thank you. Tiro, Lesor Wamwai, half a day. Buenos dias, greetings, good morning to each and every one of you present in the Senate chamber, and to all of those that are tuning in live this morning. It is with great honor and humility to be joined by all of you today. I wish to extend my sincerest respect and salutations first to our great people of our CNMI, to the Honorable Senator Edith De Leon Guerrero, Madam Chairwoman, good morning. Representative BJ Actal, Representative Denita Yantamay, Lesor Wamway, Representative Corina Magofnia, congratulations once again. Representative J.P. Palacios, Representative Lee Pon, Mrs. Geraldine De La Cruz, Zoning Administrator, Mr. Kevin Bautista, Press Secretary for the Office of the Governor, and councils, and to my families and friends that are here today. Thank you very much for gracing me with your love, support, and your presence. It is with such great humility and honor to be here before all of you this morning on this hearing of our nomination to the Zoning Board of Directors. A very important role and responsibility that carries the duty of protecting the best interests of our people, our culture, our land resources, our environment, our business investors that continue to make our CNMI a destination for economic gain, contribution, and investments. It is my firm belief that making sound and informed decisions to any matter pertaining to issues of such great importance is paramount, as those decisions constantly a strong foundation towards a great plan. I look forward to serving our people and community as one of zoning's 7 board members. With over 20 years of experience, commitment, and service in government and the private sector, I have had the privilege to serve on numerous board membership as an officer or member. That lifelong journey has taught me that if there is one thing that always works, it would be to arm yourself with knowledge and to understand the mission, purpose, and role of your participation, and always safeguard it with principles supported by genuine intention to serve the greater good of your community, a government, and the people you serve. In my view, all aspects of people needs, psychological, physical, social, should always be taken into account. It breeds a healthy community holistically and presents a sustainable development for our future and the future of our people and children, and most importantly, our home. Public awareness and education, a strong set of organizational skills, communication and open-minded to constructive feedback, enforcement, application, and respect for our laws, including upholding of our Constitution, are the many attributes my lifelong experience in public service has taught me and formed. I also personally agree that living in an environment with clean air and water, sanitation, green spaces, safe workplaces, roads, and villages all contribute to the quality of life. Therefore, a balanced development of our islands is very important. It's a very important condition for the harmonious and healthy development of any country, a home, and/or our islands. In closing, and with your blessing and support, I am ready to serve our people, and I look forward to learning from the many things that come along with this new challenge. Thank you, Jesus Masi, Hiliso, and Olumai.
Thank you, Ms. Taitanu, and also please do email us a copy of your statement this morning. Now, Mr. Shane Villanueva, you are welcome to make your statement before the committee. Thank you.
Good morning, Hafades and Tiro, Madam Chair, Edith De Leon Guerrero, distinguished members of the SMILE Committee, and to the members in the gallery and my family, and to my appointee colleague, Ms. Taitano. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you about my zoning appointment today. For the record, my name is Shane Blanco Villanueva, and I sit here in front of you both humbled and excited that the trust has been bestowed in me by the Honorable Governor Ralph De Leon Guerrero Torres and Honorable Lieutenant Governor Arnold I. Palacios in their appointment request for me to join the zoning board. I'm born and raised local boy in the island of Saipan, in the village of San Antonio. I was raised by 2 lovely women, my mother Wilma Villanueva and my grandmother Sally Villanueva, and my now deceased grandfather Francisco Villanueva. We're a tiny family that started off in CK, right across Cicero Remedios, and having a small family store that the whole the village enjoyed. We were just starting off, and we ended up moving to San Antonio, where I spent most of my adolescent life. I graduated from Mount Carmel School in 2000, and I did attend some college at NMC before moving to San Diego in 2001, where I continued my education at Grossmont College. While in San Diego, my career path took a precedence over my education, which I went directly into corporate business at the young age of 20. I learned corporate business hands-on from some of the best mentors in the business at the time. I was always hardworking, and my growth path shows that any company that I joined, I went from entry level with no knowledge to an executive position. This has been my career path, challenging myself into new things, new opportunities, and stepping up to the challenge. I admit that I'm not perfect, but I've learned lessons, but those lessons learned over the years have been my pivotal point of my success. I am results driven and solution motivated. I do not see problems, I only see opportunities. I don't see challenges, I only see opportunities. And I don't like excuses, I only prefer results. In 2003, I came back and worked at the Hyatt for 3 years before moving back to San Diego in 2006. During this time, specifically my village in San Antonio was still a nice and quaint town where we had some industrial garment businesses and in the bustling town filled with locals and contract workers alike. I did notice that around our areas, different businesses started popping up, including apartment units inside village roads, stores in back roads, and the end of garment factory areas. And at the end of the garment factory area, those buildings became abandoned and a site for crime and eyesores. When I returned in 2009, the very last factories closed its doors, leaving tons of empty, blighted businesses, empty apartment buildings, empty commercial buildings, which could just not sustain their coffers as the population dwindled down in the mass exodus of the contract workers who called Saipan their home in the 70s. This is just one example where the zoning board regulations and laws could have been enforced better to control zones in the businesses and in the villages, creating industrial areas away from the villages and allowing for us to have a free area. While traveling all over the world, I noticed that how zoning is extremely important and many countries take it very seriously. They separate well in their cities zoned, even in grandfathered areas such as San Francisco, which has very many Victorian homes and historical buildings, but are still zoned properly, no matter the possibility of growth in that economy. While we are still considered a U.S. territory, we still rank in third world based on our standards of health, education, and development. We are in a unique area that has had to take on industries that we did not want, but we did so to grow our economy and our Commonwealth. These next couple of years are going to be crucial steps to overturn these eyesores, to bring back our local culture to the forefront of our architecture and preservation of our history as we continue to grow our economy as a people. As we continue to grow our global brand, I Marianas. Itanota, Zanitautauta, Nisita na Tanapara, Esti Hafa Molik para Hagu, Molik para Gohu. Nisita na Tatsoki Hafa Mas Molik para Itautauta. We need to make it better and a better future, Madam Chair. And should you and the SNILE members accept my appointment, I promise to bring all my skills and abilities to the table, my passion for my people and my land. I could be anywhere in the world with my skill set and experience, but in 2015, I decided to move back to the CNMI, spend time with my family, and give back to the community in many facets as possible. And since my return in 2016, I have dived myself in community projects, volunteerism, mentoring, and young professionalism. I was voted by my peers in 2019 as a Young Business Person of the Year by the Saipan Young Professionals, along in the same year by My Pros, as well as a Young Professional of the Year in 2019, and one of the most 40 influential business people under 40 years old by the Marianas and Guam Business Journal. I currently serve on the Chamber of Commerce Board since 2018, and Vice President of the Chamber for the last year. I continue to serve as one of the directors of the youth programs of the Tasi to Table, member of the Saipan Fishermen's Association, and a member to many young professionals, and also daily as the operations manager for AB Risk Solutions. I also own 3 businesses, and I'm sure you're wondering, does this man have the time to make this commitment? I assure you that I am committed. This is where I leave my mark in the history books for the CNMI to recognize as I pay back the CNMI for all it's done for me. I love my island and I love my people. So in closing, I am committed to address concerns, standing my ground against influence, and am committed to bringing all my skills and abilities and my extensive corporate background to make sound and effective decisions, to follow the zoning laws fairly and honestly, to work with business and local administration, Senate and the legislature to help our community flourish with the right businesses that will represent our indigenous motifs, culture, and history. So once again, I'd like to thank you, Madam Chair, for your consideration and the members of the CNMI SNIOG delegation and those here in the gallery today, Jesus Masi and Gilisao.
Thank you so much, Mr. Villanueva, for your statement this morning before the committee, and thank you for the copies as well. We are now officially going into the next item on the agenda to have a discussion with the nominees this morning with the committee members. Members, if you have any questions or discussions with the nominees, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you so we can begin the discussion this morning. Any members? Recognize Representative JP Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning and welcome, Ms. Taitanu and Mr. Shane Villanueva. I don't have any questions as your resume and your experience has said a lot on what you have to give if confirmed by the full body of the SNIO. But I do want to say for the record and thank Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios for nominating you both to serve in the zoning board. I wish also to extend my congratulations and give you my thank yous for accepting such a challenge. I know some of the previous people that spoken on public comments said that this job is a hectic job and you don't get paid for it. You do get minimal payment for conducting board meetings, but not enough to provide for your family. So it's a full commitment that you are entering to do and provide in the zoning board. I wish you both luck. As I advised also Ms. Enna, who was confirmed last week by the full body, I asked both of you that you just don't sit there as an enforcer or a regulatory mindset. I know that the zoning board is not a perfect law. It has been amended many times to adapt to the culture and economic zoning areas. So I ask that you also enforce it, but in the same time look at how can we improve our zoning law and our zoning office in the processes moving forward. Thank you and congratulations for the nomination.
Thank you, Representative Sablan. Any other members that would like to have a conversation with the nominees this morning? Recognize Representative Lipan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome, Cecilia and Shane. Shane, I don't have any question. Your credential really speaks out louder than what I've read. Same thing with Cecilia. But I heard you mention about blighted buildings. And I hope, I keep echoing this same sentiment during Enna's confirmation that we need to get this thing started ASAP, because we kind of open up and I've seen a lot of Korean tourists. I asked a simple question: why do you come back to Saipan? It's not about COVID. They were expecting something brand new from us, and we haven't done that. If we really want to open up our tourists, I see MBA is trying to work with Japan. We need to improve. And these blighted buildings is one of the breeding ground for rodents, and we need to address this quickly because there's a lot of blighted buildings. It's just rotting there. It's not been properly taken care of. We see Western Garapan is supposed to be developed, it's still the same thing. I hope that when you do go in and sit with the rest of the board, do something, because you are being appointed to make changes, and the legislature is expecting that end result. We're not perfect, but they say as we try to improve, we see the mistakes, and that's something that comes and go. But I know that both of you have ideas, and I hope that you take that opportunity to make this drastic change. The other thing that I highly recommend is don't delay the process of approving the investor's application. If it's properly submitted, condition will be granted. You know, if it's just missing one part of the zoning requirement, approve of it, because these investors are trying to pump in money, and time is of the essence for them. So I hope that you take this and start doing the work that is needed for the zoning. With that, Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Representative Lee Pond. Any other member that would like to engage in a conversation with the nominees this morning? Recognize Representative BJ Atto.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions for either of the nominees, but I would like to thank, for the record, thank Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios for their nominations, most especially to thank these two fine individuals for accepting this challenge that they will be facing. As I mentioned with Edna's nomination, with the extensive background that you both have and the experience that you've had in various fields and various companies, even private and public sector, maybe one of the starting points when you guys get in is to review the enabling statute that created the zoning board so that you guys can actually fix it, help us fix that. It's hard from our side that investors will come directly up here and bypass the zoning office, try to amend zoning laws, and it puts us in a predicament that we fight against each other, and we shouldn't be doing that. I think we should respect the zoning office, and with the zoning board's recommendation to better the enabling act, I think that should be a good starting point for all of you guys that are going in. And like for speaker here, former Rep Mariano Taiton mentioned, that we hope that from this day forward we can actually fill the zoning board officers so that you can have a full body to conduct business and provide to this growing community. If this is the right time to build back our community, this is the right time with the lack of the tourism industry. We should build that back up, and it starts with you guys, at least here on Saipan. We hope that in the future we will be including road and under the zoning, but be that as it may, the founding fathers of the zoning board said that it'd be better off here on Saipan. It's the doorway to road and for all our visitors. So I look forward to working with you guys, and I'm here in full support of your nominations, and I'm ready to vote, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative BJ Atto. Any other members that would like to make a statement this morning? Recognize Representative Karina Magofnia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Cecilia and Mr. Villanueva. No questions from me, but I would like to personally congratulate the both of you on your nominations. I would have to say you both have very impressive resumes, letters of support, and awesome testimony. With your professional experiences, leadership roles, and your testimony this morning, I am very confident that you will both carry out your duties and responsibilities as board members if confirmed. And I see you both as valuable assets to the zoning board, and so for that you have my support. Mr. Villanueva, I see on your resume that you are also a business owner, and so I would like to encourage you as a business owner to please mentor our youth, and if you haven't yet, and please mentor them in becoming entrepreneurs like yourself, so that we can teach our youth to be better, to be not so dependent on getting a job outside of themselves, but to really just encourage them that they themselves can also succeed as you have. Our islands are filled with many, many talents and very skillful individuals. So I hope that with your extensive experience and your business knowledge, that you would please encourage and empower them to be also entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Karina Magofia. Any other member recognize Representative Denita Yankamai?
I have to look up the word exemplary. That's what both of you are. So yes, you guys are great models, role models for our children and other nominees who will be coming behind you, up after you guys. So yes, please do a great job when you go in there. Like our colleague said, it's a lot of things to do in there. Be patient and get everything in order. Because I heard that there's a lot of meetings, almost all the time. Okay, thank you, that's all. Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you, Representative Denita. Just so you know, Rep. Denita has a very beautiful humor. And it never fails that we have some laughter when we have our SNIO JGO committee meetings. Really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys enjoyed as well. So I guess we come complete circle, and it comes back to me now. And I do have some, I'd like to engage in some conversation with the nominees this morning. And when we begin off this morning, I'd like to direct your attention to the screen and show you some pictures of the same pictures that we had shown the nominee Etna, who was already confirmed for zoning. And I appreciate I took some keywords as some of the supporters make their public statements in support of your nominations. The character of neighborhood, enhancing the character of the neighborhood. Words are shared as balancing growth in the community. I appreciate the fact that all of us do relate to our upbringings in our villages. Tanapak, Shane from Chalancanoa, and then you moved on to San Antonio. And this is one of the pictures that I'd like to show to you. Can we dim the lights, please? Thank you. Just so that we have a better view. We understand that perhaps maybe some of these businesses, apartment complexes, or homes that are put out for rent are possibly grandfathered under the existing zoning law. But to show you that, as you can see, the lack of parking spaces in the villages end up putting the tenants of those particular units on the public roads, parking their cars, so that they could go home and then go about their business. I bring this to your attention because it's important that we take a look at this from today and moving forward as you address the zoning issues of the Commonwealth, in particular the island of Saipan, where we are at today, because you are representing the island of Saipan on the board, and to plan out how is this particular issues to be addressed as you sit on the board for the term that you are appointed to. I do get a lot of concerns from the neighborhood about what is the government going to do, what is the zoning board going to do about these parking issues with respect to the apartments and any other rental units within the neighborhood. And in particular, it's important that I also want to bring your attention to the economic growth. In the prior session with Etna, I did mention that oftentimes when we talk about economic development, it's heavily concentrated in the tourism district, which is down in Garapan. But I'm a firm believer that I would like to see also a much more expansive growth into the village so that our people within the villages also would realize opportunities of economic growth so that everybody can benefit from it, and not just a particular segment of the island of Saipan, for example, or for Rota or Tinian, but to really share out the wealth and spread the wealth to our people. Because oftentimes when you have valuation of properties, for example, Garapan, we can call it the Waikiki of the Marianas. Highly valued, a lot of commercial establishments. But then when you look down south or the middle of Saipan, on the backside of Saipan, we need to figure out what is the market valuation of those properties as well. and those locations. And what is the potential for those kind of businesses to be located in those particular areas of Saipan, Tinian or Rota, for example, so that they can also pick up their growth in the villages. On the next picture is pretty much the same situation. By the way, that one is located in Chalancanoa, just so you know. Now, we may be talking about the lack of parking, but this is where I would encourage you as the potential appointments for the zoning board, once confirmed by the SAO delegation, to also bring into a much more collaborative effort, a working relationship with other departments within the government that are also responsible with respect to enforcement. We may be addressing parking issue, but we might be looking at flood zones, broken roads, for example. So we talk about aesthetics of the community. I grew up in the Bay Area as well. Shane mentioned San Francisco, Victorian homes, and many other cities across America. We can do this, but it takes the entire government system to work together so that everybody is held accountable to their responsibilities and not just zoning. And this is where the critical components of every department is necessary. That is no longer a matter of personality conflicts, or that is not your jurisdiction. You know, don't go there because that's not your responsibility. It does not address the needs of the community of our Commonwealth. I think we need to grow up and go beyond those levels of conversation with department heads and start looking at what is beneficial to our people, to our island, so that everybody can benefit from this, including the businesses, so that we strike that balance of economic growth, of community growth as well. Furthermore, I do want to ask both of you, have you ever had the chance to read back in time? There's so many studies on economic growth and zoning for the Commonwealth. For example, the SETS report, the Commonwealth Economic Development Strategy, which is spearheaded by the Department of Commerce. There's tons of studies done, tons of reports done, and it does not necessarily mean that those prior studies are no longer useful today as we speak, but really is to put us in a situation, in a position where, when are we going to be effectuating a lot of these studies that may be still, beneficial today as we speak. I encourage you both and all the other members of the zoning board to start looking at that, and at the same time, as you currently talk to one another, once confirmed, of how best can we move forward in the development of our Commonwealth, and also to zone the proper districts. Mr. Villanueva, you mentioned about creating a zone area away from the neighborhood. One of the concerns that I often hear from business people is that there are warehouses within the villages, auto repair shops. Again, we use the word grandfather because before the zoning law came into effect, a lot of the businesses were grandfathered. But this is also the greatest opportunity for you both and the entire board members to take a look of how can you construct the zoning law that would, satisfy the existing businesses that are grandfathered in the neighborhoods, at the same time to satisfy the laws and the development of other areas within our communities, so that everybody benefits from your decisions rather than upsetting one person and then losing the economic opportunity for the Commonwealth. The other areas of concern that I have are rather encouragement. The words used this morning on public support of both of you is that people have confidence that you won't be bribed. That is very important because it's such a small island. All of us have relationships with private companies. And when you are appointed to a board, you are sworn to protect the interests of our community. You are sworn to uphold the laws of the Commonwealth. And I know both of you. I know your families. And I have a lot of faith that you will uphold that integrity in your character, so that you see and you make decisions based on what is the best interest with respect to balancing the benefits of how your decisions will affect our community on our beautiful island of Saipan. I ask you both to never forget that, and always remember that whatever decision you make, that you always think about our people. You both make a very strong statement this morning about how much you care for our islands, how much you love it, how much you love our people. Don't ever forget that, because the decisions you make today will affect the future of our Commonwealth and our future generations to come. And I thank you both for making that public statement this morning. The character of neighborhoods. Most recently, I had a visit in my office. Mr. Gary Sword mentioned about Asian businesses, creating a business, developing a business, and then they just leave, and nobody's held responsible. This is where I want to connect you to why it is important to connect with other departments within the Commonwealth system government. In the laws of the Commonwealth, companies, foreign corporations are required to have a resident agent. So let's not forget that those resident agents also should be held accountable for decisions like this, for establishments like this, for developments like this. That it's not just to have your name be put on that registrar corporation as the registered resident agent of the company. But people must understand that when you affix your name in that fashion, that you also shall be held liable. Because we do not need, as a Commonwealth, businesses to establish themselves just because, in the interest of making money and forgetting about what is the most beneficial for both business and our community and our people. So I need you to be reminded about that and to work closely with these government entities. Lastly, I want to hear from both of you. I know both of you have lived in the U.S. In your perspective as we speak today, you're not confirmed yet. Share with us, what are some of your concerns with the way the land use is here in the Commonwealth, the way businesses are currently situated in the Commonwealth, and what is your vision? What do you foresee if you are to be confirmed on this board as you move forward in making decisions? I would open it to Ms. Chaitano. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your question. Yes, I do agree that, number one, the photos that you've shared this morning, come to the root of many of my concerns as well as for blight in buildings. We live in a tropical, beautiful island, and sometimes with those abandoned structures, it gives injustice not only to the beauty and the natural beauty of our islands, but also an environment that is not safe for our people, for our children, and of course our health. I've lived in the state of Washington, and it's my favorite state, only because, number one, it reminds me of home, how it rains a lot of greenery, and the development is not as mixed as some of our villages here on Saipan, where there is really no structured organization, like for instance in Chalincanoa or San Antonio. It's great to invite business investors into our community, but I'm a strong believer that, the royalty shall be to the landowners and the stakeholders of the Sinamay, in which that is our people and our culture. And we shouldn't forget that yes, the opportunity to accord them that, privilege to conduct business here should also come along with respecting the rules, the laws, and the nature of our Commonwealth to provide a safe environment and a healthy environment, not just for them to succeed, but also for our neighbors, for their neighbors, our families, to live in an equally safe environment. I was born and raised in the village of Tanapec, and I remembered what it was. We can walk around safely, and of course, time has changed. What worked then may have not or may not work now, but I agree that going back to case studies, reports that have been established or have been stated to kind of reflect on what the idea was then and the vision for now to kind of compare and see a balance of where that we can apply those issues of our concerns now, like be it flooding. I think that, in the past, laws and rules or decisions that have been made on behalf of zoning have somewhat lost that touch to kind of consider nature and consider the safety and the health of our communities. So with that, coming from a broad perspective of living outside in the United States and coming back home, I really believe that there is a need for a lot of cleanup and reorganization without compromising, of course, the integrity and the health of businesses around here. I think now with the pandemic, it gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect back, look back at what needs to be revisited, and it's an opportunity to improve upon ourselves, improve upon how we conduct businesses and zone them so that should this pandemic ever, and I pray that it does so, leave us and perish, that we are we are ready to reopen our gates and provide a much more lush and beautiful community for both our businesses and our visitors, along with our very own people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Villanueva. You can share your ideas or opinion.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that question. Anytime I come into a new board or a situation, I first kind of like look at all the issues that are at hand. Any of the important topics that are raising up, we can name echoing Ms. Taitano, either, the blighted buildings or different areas or, public restrooms or other things like that. So I would want to go in and kind of look at this and make some calculated decisions as to what I would like to suggest. What do I want to see? I want to see the beauty of the CNMI. That's, you go to different states, you travel around, you see these different things. Honestly, you really can't, you don't have to go far. You can go to Tinian or Rhoda, and you can see that their public areas are very nice and well maintained. And I want to be able to echo that in Saipan. I understand that our population is a lot larger, and maybe we have a lot larger tourist industry. It's a lot more for us to take on. But just like you were echoing about working with the different bodies of the CNMI, and if we can get either stakeholder buy-in or the buy-in of the executive directors and the managing directors of those entities that focus either BECQ or any of those areas, we can work together. We all have the skills and the abilities to do it. And so what do I want to see? I want to see a cleaner CNMI. I want to see investors coming in with the right business, not the CNMI begging for business, right? So if we build it now that COVID is the way it is, and we've been able to actually, change around some of our tourist sites. We have, Grotto, which has just been redone and refaced. We have security people there and all of these things. So we're making small leaps towards it. And if we can all do that, and I think if we can just open the lines of communication and kind of work together, and the zoning board, instead of the zoning board working against the businesses and working with them, would be something that, I would like to make as a legacy, working with either the legislative body and the other entities or the Senate body as well. And so, I grew up in the South, and it was, that's what it was. You go home when the lights turn off and you didn't have to be told and all that other stuff. And so the CNMI is moving in the right direction. And I think that with the board that is there now and should be and Ms. Tyson will be appointed, we're just going to add more moxie to that board, and we'll be able to really get in there and be able to develop and follow the laws and be able to provide a better, wholesome community that will have the right zoning issues and the right zoning laws and the amendments that you guys are asking for. So and also working with any of the previous zoning board members. They have a lot of experience. Mr. Taitano does, and then there's also Tatiana Balbalta that was in there for a little bit, and some other ones. So kind of, when you come into an office, you gotta work on what was existing there and how we can continue those good things, and then solve the issues, and then move forward, and then pass it along should we need to. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I also want to bring to your attention, I'm not sure of the current composition of the zoning board. If, is there anybody, like a licensed professional, for example, an architect? If you look in many different countries, right, you go to different sectors of the community and you see that the structures of buildings are designed differently. And I am most certain that also goes into their zoning regulations. So that's again something for you to prospectively be looking at with respect to your responsibilities once you are confirmed to the zoning board. The other area that I do want to bring to your attention, like Industrial Drive in Puerto Rico, I do recall many years ago that they had these planters, like red leaves, that they were lined up across all the way down the driveway, and that was so beautiful to see. Why I appreciate that, because it hides the containers that are parked within those fences. For the life of me, I do not understand what happened, that all of a sudden it gets removed. So I'm not sure if the way things are done is when somebody comes into office and this is their term, you know what I'm saying? That now they get to plant whatever plants they want to plant. I hear that in different areas. And that's why I appreciate what your comments are this morning, that Shane, I took it down in Chamorro, you said, so be afamalik para itaw-taw. I think having those plants down there in Puerto Rico, not only does it enhance the area, because we all know that that's an industrial area, but it keeps the dust away from the community that lives across the street. And that's what I would like for you all to also bring to the table as you begin to picture how this CNMI is going to look like with respect to your experience and how you live in the U.S. and how some of the those practices can be applicable to our Commonwealth. The one of the things that I do want to also bring to your attention, for example, laundromats. I'm not sure whether you drive around maybe and take a look at establishments, but poker rooms, again, I will go back to the matter of some businesses may have been grandfathered within an establishment. So that's another area of concern that you might want to look into, or you will have to look into, because it does raise this community concerns. And where can we place all of these businesses within our community? And again, without jeopardizing the survival of the business, but to balance that need for both community and business. So that's one area of concern also that I would like to bring to your attention. And my last, if I just one place, any of you that you may have visited in your life that could be comparable or possible to be developed here in the Commonwealth, what would be that place? Go ahead.
So just so I understand the question, you want me to compare somewhere that I've lived before and how we can develop it?
Absolutely, just one place.
Sure. I stayed in San Diego for 15 years. The weather's the same. The people, maybe not so much. The people over here are a lot nicer. And so there's a fisherman's wharf. I'm a fisherman. I love fishing, right? And there's a fisherman's wharf in San Diego that has a Ferris wheel. They have a place for people to have, a small water park where they have sprouts and stuff like that come up. And they have lots of boat parking, which, creates another area of development. And then they have a place for concerts where people can hold venues and show off their local art and be able to sell their local art, because we have so many great artists and talented people here and they don't have a place. So what I really would like is a place to be able to people to host their arts, people to host their boats, and a marina where people can go and have a picnic without having to pay, because in San Diego you got to pay for everything, including parking, and be able to just have a nice family environment. And that's something that if I can leave my mark in the CNMI, that's something that I definitely would like to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecilia?
Thank you. This question kind of reminds me, I raised my daughter since she was 3 to about 11 in Battleground, Washington. And so growing up in a wide space of area with so many places to go, either to have picnics or, we didn't have warm waters over there, but there were a lot of places to go and take time away from home for either respite or just to have some family time. And when we relocated back home in 2017, it was a huge culture shock for her. We didn't have fancy malls like we did back there. And I took her up north to the La Fiesta Mall. And I said, believe it or not, many years ago, this used to be a very popular place where it housed boutiques and little game shops and, courtyards for children and families to come and, take time away from home just to have a place for enjoyment. And, she said something to me that, kind of saw a little bit of what our future need. And that is why in my, statement earlier this morning, sustainable development is very important. We must leave our home, our lands for many generations forward to appreciate. And she said, I wish we could connect a bridge from here to Guam, because connecting from here to Guam, I could get to go to the mall. They have Chuck E. Cheese and a much busier community. There's so many places to go to and see and appreciate. And then when I'm tired from all of that jazz, I want to come back home and relax. And I think that's what we really need in our communities. Our home is already beautiful. And, with the economic developments we are foreseeing in the near future here, I hope that those are the amenities that we could take into consideration and add into that. Our children are growing up in a much more different environment and culture. My way of respite is to go home and split a dry coconut in half, burn it, and appreciate that scent, and have a cup of coffee in the quiet village of Asmatwist. But our children are growing up different. They're very socially connected. They're so into a lot of things we learn from them, from electronics to the new stuff that are developed all the time. So home is always my favorite place, and it's always going to be that way. We just have to have a care for our people. The Bagay Pinoya, si Shane earlier na debita na phone na loki itotota itanota sa hita ikuturata sa nitotota. And that's very deep and important to me. Thank you.
This is a small statement, Saitanu. The reason why I bring that up is because, thinking outside the box is necessary in order for us to move forward. And last but not least, before we end our conversation, I'm not sure if you guys are reading. I'm sure, Shane, you're probably reading it because you're a member of the Chamber of Commerce on the plan on Garapan District for a community business district. And the reason why I bring this to your attention, both because it's necessary that we take a look at that when we talk about making sure that we balance the economic growth for our people and make sure that it's beneficial. It's necessary that you go deep into that plan. I know it's going to be modeled like Waikiki, where it creates a nonprofit organization where the members of that particular district are members of the nonprofit organization, and a certain valuation of the businesses within the district will be paying a certain fee. What I'm leading to is that I pray that it doesn't lead to what we call a silent property tax. Silent property tax in the area. We do still have some residentials in that area. I have seen the mapping of that area. And this is why I bring it to your attention that please, for whatever it is, for whatever it's worth, that our people that are going to be affected in those zone areas are not going to be able to afford these kind of fees if the land valuations are up in a premium, and they might be facing a possibility of having some sort of liquidation or, loss of property and assets of the family. So please keep that in mind. That ends my conversation with both of you, members. Would anybody would like to offer a motion for the preparation of the committee report for the recommendation and approval of the two nominees? Go ahead, recognize Representative John Paul Sablan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with the resumes that we have reviewed from both nominees at this time, I'd like to make a motion that the SNILE Standing Committee on Judiciary and Governmental Operation, with your leadership, formulates a committee report recommending to the full body the confirmation of both nominees, Mr. Shane B. Villanueva and Ms. Cecilia R. Taitano, to serve as members of the Commonwealth Zoning Board. So moved.
Do I hear a second on that motion? All those in favor say aye. Nays, motion carried. Short recess, please. So we are back in session from that short recess, and members, we shall wait for the creation of the committee report for presentation to the entire SNI delegation body for the confirmation of a recommendation confirmation for Ms. Cecilia Taitanu and Mr. Shane Villanueva. Moving on our last two items on the agenda under announcements, there's none. May I hear a motion for the adjournment of this meeting? All those in favor say aye. Nays, motion carried. This meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you.
I didn't click that. I'm not used to that button.